We've touched upon communication in some of our other retail training modules, and today we're going to talk about communication and how effective communication is necessary in the role of management. Communication is one of our most vital life skills. We've all learned to communicate from almost the day that we were born, and we are continually communicating in all aspects of our daily lives. But that doesn't mean that we're effectively communicating, and there are always opportunities to improve and develop our skills. When you think about any individual that you view as a great leader, be it a politician, an entrepreneur, a business leader, community figures, the one thing that they will always have in common is that they are great communicators. And with so many new ways to communicate in today's world, both on an individual level and across businesses, communication has probably never been as challenging as it is today. The topic of communication is almost infinite. It encompasses such a wide variety of topics. So today we're going to focus on how you can be an effective communicator and how effective communication is needed in retail management. We're going to talk about what is communication and why it's so important. We will cover the 8 basic principles that are needed to have effective communication. We'll talk about the different types of communication that are needed in management on a daily basis. We'll cover barriers to effective communication and the personal skills that you need to be able to be an effective communicator. And lastly, we'll talk about ways that you can improve communication, both for yourself personally and for your business. So what exactly do we mean by communication? Communication is defined as the process of creating and sharing information among people to reach a common understanding. In business, this can relate to sales information, commercial data, how a business operates through its policies and procedures, or points of views and ideas. Effective communication is a necessity to enable the basic function of management: planning, organising, leading and controlling. For any manager to successfully operate a business and manage a team, communication will lie at the heart of almost everything that they need to do. And of course, there'll be multiple layers of communication in all areas, both internally to employees, perhaps even other internal layers of management, and of course there'll be communication to external stakeholders, be it customers or any of the many suppliers and service providers that help a business operate. There will be continual listening, responding and delivering of information. And this is where it gets tricky. Everybody can communicate. Not everybody can communicate effectively. Even if an individual manager is highly qualified and skilled, but they don't possess good communication skills, all the ability becomes irrelevant. A manager must be able to communicate his directions effectively to the subordinates to be able to get the work done properly. If you think back to any difficult time in your working career, be it a conflict with a colleague or a manager, time wasting through errors or any kind of misunderstandings, there's a very good chance that this was caused by miscommunication. There are many reasons why good communication is needed in business, and I'm going to list just a few. Firstly, at a very simplistic level, it's needed to provide clear purpose and direction to the team and employees. Regular updates will drive the direction of the team's actions, and as a result of your communications, the team will understand exactly what is expected of them. There'll be less confusion and more action. Secondly, it's a source of information and helps support the decision-making process. It helps identify and assess any actions that need to be taken. Thirdly, it does lead to a higher level of productivity. If your business has a culture of communicating clearly and actively listening, this will help streamline any processes and improve accuracy in all activities and tasks that need to be completed. A well-informed team will be able to work far more productively, efficiently and accurately than a less informed team. It also allows for early resolution of any problems. No manager likes to encounter challenging situations within their team, but of course it's unavoidable at times. But having the ability to identify potential areas of conflict or problems early on and lead these difficult conversations with ease can ensure that issues are resolved with minimum disruption. If you're communicating clearly and often, if you're listening actively and asking relevant questions, you're modelling behaviour for others to follow, and this is a great foundation for success and a good culture to build for any business. And lastly, it builds team morale. Any team that's kept in the dark with no regular updates from their manager or any opportunities to discuss any concerns that they have will become unmotivated and unproductive. These are just some of the many reasons why you need good, effective communication within your business. And of course, there are many more. So what exactly defines good communication? I'm now going to talk you through 8 key principles that combined create good, effective communication. The first principle is to gauge the setting that you're in, and the setting of any conversation will dictate the communication style that you use. When you're trying to gauge the setting, you'll need to look at the type of occasion that it is. Is it a formal business presentation? Is it a team motivational brief? You'll need to consider the physical location and the types of medium that you're using, the time of day, and of course who you're actually communicating with, be it on an individual level or in a group setting, which leads us on to principle number 2, know your audience. When you take time to understand who your actual audience is, it allows you to tailor your message more clearly, to choose your language and to choose your tone of voice to create a better experience for that targeted audience. How you deliver a board presentation will be different to how you deliver a motivational team briefing to the sales floor, which will be different to how you communicate to external suppliers. So it's important to know who the audience is and exactly what they expect from you when you're delivering your information. And only when you fully understand these components of the setting and the audience can you decide how you want to communicate. Principle number 3 is to have consistency in what you present, in both the words that you actually say and the body language that you actually use. As humans, we can all read body language. We can identify sadness or aggressive behaviour instantaneously. So depending on the type of message that you're conveying, make sure that your words and tone of voice match the body language and everything is conveying the same message. If you don't do this, you'll be sending out mixed signals which will lead to a lack of clarity. For example, if you're giving out praise and congratulations to an employee, but you do it in a monotone voice and with no facial expressions, it's not going to convey the message or praise to the other person, regardless of what your words say. The fourth principle is to make sure you adjust your tone to suit the business occasion. The tone you take in a disciplinary will be very different to the tone you take when you're negotiating with a supplier. In any leadership role, you set the tone and people automatically follow your lead. If you're trying to motivate people on the sales floor, but using a frustrated tone, it won't achieve the goal. So make sure you adjust your tone to suit the right business occasion. The fifth principle is to try and be concise and not lose your message. You should remove any words that do not add clarity or value to the message. Repetition and over-explanation can destroy the importance of the actual message. Principle number 6 is to be clear in the message you're delivering. Be clear about what you're actually saying and the results that you want to achieve from your communication. Set out the expectations at the start of the message and summarize at the end. Know your point and leave no ambiguity in the message. Say what you mean. Going back to principle number 5, leave out anything that could cause the message to be lost. Be as concise as possible. Principle number 7 is very important. Listen to understand. Most of us listen to respond instead of actually listening to understand. And you won't be able to communicate effectively or accurately if you're not understanding what the person is trying to convey to you. And while you are actually listening, show that you're listening. Use your body language, take notes, or nod subtly. Show that you're listening without actually interrupting. And it's only when you understand correctly what message is being conveyed to you will you be able to respond and communicate effectively. And the last principle, number 8, is to check for understanding. It's not enough to simply deliver the information or pass on a message. You need to ensure that the recipient of the message has understood it. Therefore, feedback is required for any communication to be effective, to ensure that the information and message has been correctly understood and received by the other party. By using these 8 principles in all of your communication across your business, you can be sure that the message you're trying to transmit will be transmitted effectively and received and understood. The next area we're going to touch upon is understanding the different communication styles. As a manager, one of the most critical skills you'll need to develop is your ability to adapt your communication style based on the different needs of each situation. When you're able to use the right communication style, you can ensure that any information or message will be transmitted effectively. There are many different types of communication styles, and I'm going to discuss the most common that are used in leadership and managerial roles. The first is advising. As a manager, you'll spend a lot of your time in advisory mode. This is where all of your problem-solving skills will come into play. Regardless of your business type, any business will usually have a set of routine tasks that need to be completed daily, and your team likely know how and what needs to be done and just get on with them. But as obstacles and roadblocks arise in these areas, you'll be needed to advise on how to resolve them and take decisions to enable the team to move past them. Employees will come to you with questions and challenges, and you are advising them by way of providing solutions. And this is one of the most common types of communication style used in management. The second style is directing, which is another daily function of management. You need to use it daily to communicate with your teams. You are effectively telling individuals and team members what to do and providing instructions and information that they need to be able to achieve it. With directing, there's always a fine line between directing and dictating, and the key difference is in the delivery. You should be providing the framework for people to be able to achieve things and not just orders. In the day-to-day operations of any business, a manager will spend a lot of their time using these first two communication styles, advising and directing. It's how you keep the wheels moving in your business and enable the many tasks that need to be completed to be done in a quick and efficient manner. The third style of communication is delegation, and this is where you're passing on specific responsibilities to individuals within your team. And communication is imperative here because you need to be able to provide these details in a clear manner and keep the lines of communication open to ensure that you can provide support and monitor progress, to ensure that the tasks are completed successfully, as ultimately the responsibility remains with you. The fourth style is coaching and mentoring, and these are a key part of your job role in any managerial or leadership role. You need to be continually developing talent and to broaden the skill sets within your team and within your business. Coaching is essentially a combination of teaching and advising. It's where you're laying out the framework for the individual to follow and learn. With mentoring, you're sharing your own personal knowledge. The fifth communication style is teaching, when you're trying to teach somebody a new skill. There are two key elements to teaching. The first is to lay out the steps that the individual needs to follow, and the second is ensuring the buy-in. So you'll need to explain how and why it will be beneficial to them. The sixth style of communication is motivation. Individuals and teams need encouragement, and there are many different ways to motivate. You'll need to know your individuals and your team preferences. For some, the cheerleading style will be motivation, and for others, positive reinforcement is sufficient. The key is knowing when to use each style of communication and which one will have most impact in which situation. And lastly, we come to listening, and this should be the most frequently used form of communication for every manager. Actively listening to what's actually being said, showing that you're actually listening, but also watching out for other forms of communication in body language or tone of voice, and of course reading between the lines. While these are 7 very distinct styles of communication, in reality, most situations will call for a blend of communication styles. You'll need to gauge the situation and analyse which method of communication will work best for you and have the most amount of impact. The most important part of choosing a communication style is to allow yourself to be adaptable and change your style to match the situation at hand. A key part of ensuring that your communication is effective and that your message reaches its intended audience is understanding the different barriers that can impact your communication. And a barrier is anything that prevents communication being delivered in the right way, the right message to the right person at the right time, and allowing the recipient to receive the message. And there are many different types of barriers, and each business model will face different challenges. And I'm going to take you through some examples of different barriers that your business can face. Firstly, having a complex organizational structure is a key barrier for efficient communication. Complex structures make information sharing difficult. If a business has too many layers to its management structure, information can easily get sliced and lost or distorted as it travels through each layer of the hierarchy. On the opposite end of the scale, if an organisation has a very flat structure, the span of control can be too wide, and this is also a barrier to effective communication. If you're running your business and you are solely in charge of all communication, both internally and externally, and everything has to filter through you, at the very minimum, this will create bottlenecks in communication and slow the speed and efficiency of communication down. Things will just take longer to get done and productivity will be lost. Another common barrier to effective communication is the fact that people have different communication skills and different communication styles. and often these differences can stop the message being received and understood accurately. Another common barrier that you see is bureaucracy, and this is especially true in larger organisations, and you can have information overload. Too little information is not sufficient, but too much information can cause even more problems. If you as an individual or business in general are receiving information overload, how can you distinguish the important messages? They're often lost through sheer volume. Another common barrier today is geography. With today's work from home society and many businesses operating across multiple countries and time zones for both their customers and their suppliers, the basic geography itself is a barrier. There are many other types of barriers: language barriers, gender barriers, differences of personalities. The key point is to understand how the different barriers are impacting the effectiveness of your own communication and making the necessary adaptations to work around them. The goal is to ensure that your communication is effective and has the impact that you want. Next, we're going to talk about the different skills that you need in management to be an effective communicator. And when you think of the skill set of any manager, you may not instantaneously arrive at communication as a top priority, but actually it should be, because it's needed in so many different areas of management and it's needed to make a lot of the other skills work. So let's talk about some of the skills that you need to be able to communicate effectively. The first is to have good judgment, to gauge the situation, to know what style is right for the occasion and what approach to take with each person. The second is to be able to be clear in your actual communication. To be able to speak appropriately and get your message across is clearly at the heart of all good communication. Everybody can communicate, but being able to communicate clearly and effectively is the skill. Thirdly, you need to have good questioning skills. To be able to do some of the other managerial tasks such as problem solving and decision making, you need to understand things accurately and have all the information that you require, and asking the right questions is the best way to do this. If you know how to communicate and ask thoughtful questions to obtain the information that you need, it will make the process of communication far more efficient and productive. The fourth skill is to have good active listening skills. And these are learned skills that we can all continually develop. And like accurate questioning, it can speed up productivity and efficiency in communication. Another great skill to have for effective communication is the ability to build rapport with your team. When you build positive, constructive relationships with people who work for you, it enables messages to be delivered easier and understood. This will result in more productive and efficient workplace. Another really important skill is confidence, because confidence underpins all effective communication. When you're communicating, you want people to believe what you're actually saying, and confidence is the critical part of achieving this. Every individual will have differing levels of communication skills. Everyone has a different background of knowledge and experience, and this results in an individual balance of skills across each person. There will always be strengths in certain areas and always be opportunities for improvement. Taking time to evaluate the different styles of communication and the different skill sets within your own team and evaluating how you can improve the communication across your business is necessary to run your business in an optimal manner. We now come to talk about ways that you can improve communication, both for yourself personally to ensure your effectiveness and across your business. Firstly, on a personal level, you can practice active listening. And this is what allows you to obtain the right understanding of the message and be able to respond then effectively. The second thing you can do is to ask for feedback from specific colleagues or employees. You'll be able to gain valuable insight on how effective your communication is and how your style is working well within the business. And importantly, gaining the insights will allow you to make the necessary adaptations to ensure that your communication is most effective and the messages that you want to transmit are being transmitted clearly across your business. The third thing is to ensure that you're holding regular team briefings, be it morning briefings, change of shift or end of day. These regular catch-ups and communication will not only ensure that your team are well informed and driving your business objectives, but also will give you invaluable oversight and insight into your business, and this will enable you to deal with issues as they're arising. Another thing you can do personally is to control your emotions. Times have been tough, stress is high, but keeping your emotions in check and not passing that on to your team will allow your message to be delivered more clearly. And lastly, you can practice public speaking. There's no better way to develop and improve your communication skills than speaking out in public. And communication, like every other skill, gets better with practice. And when you complete public speaking, it encourages you to create good communication habits due to the wide audience. Next, we move to how you can improve communication across your business. Each business type and model will have different requirements, but here are some general things that you can do. Firstly, to have relevant communication boards within your business. This is a really time-efficient way to share messages with a broad audience. People get to read the notice boards at their own convenience, and you know the communication has been passed on. Another way is to create a company newsletter. This allows you to share more in-depth information, but again in a time-efficient manner. Another great way to improve business communication is to review the communication tools that you are using within your business. There is a whole sea of communication tools that are being used. Make sure that you're using the right tools that suit your own business needs: size, format, demographic of audience, speed and efficiency. Another good opportunity to communicate with your team is to take a temperature check through staff surveys and suggestion schemes. And you should encourage an open door policy within your business. This allows people the freedom to communicate with you easily and will provide you with the opportunity for great oversight for your business. But I would say the most important way that you can improve communication across your business is to look at the messages that you're sharing and the frequency of them. We talked earlier about information overload and also about providing too little information. Finding the right balance for your business. What do they need to know and when do they need to know it? And what is the best method to deliver the communication to ensure that it's received and understood? Evaluate and assess what will work best for you and allow you to extract optimal performance from the individuals that work for you in the most time efficient and productive manner. We've talked a lot today about effective communication and the need to be an effective communicator, but I cannot overstate the importance of it. If you're in a position of management or the owner of a business, you need to have effective communication skills just to be able to perform the basic function of running your business. Communication skills are essential in order to deliver and understand information quickly and accurately, and this will impact managing your resources, team interactions, customer interactions, supplier management, and so much more. Communication underpins every other skill that you have, and without it, all the other skills will not be able to thrive. Taking time to evaluate and review your own personal preferred style of communication and the current skill level that you possess is a great place to start to identify barriers that are impacting the effectiveness of your own communication and the communication within your business. And it will help you identify any improvements that could help improve the effectiveness of your communication. It's also worth taking time to consider and assess the preferred styles of those around you. Receipt of information and it being understood accurately is critical for you to be able to be successful in your communication and in your role as a manager, and ultimately it will impact the success of your business performance. Therefore, knowing and being able to adapt your communication style to individuals and to situations will go a long way towards improving the effectiveness of your communication. Every retail business will have a different style of communication and different needs depending on what they're actually selling and in what environment. You should take a look at your own business and look at the different types of communication that are regularly needed within your business, and also the different barriers that are impacting the effectiveness of the communication across your business. Slight tweaks and changes in communication style, format, delivery, content can make a huge difference to a working environment and to the success of communication across a wide platform. Communication lies at the heart of almost everything that we do within a retail business and of course in life in general. Improving the effectiveness of communication for yourself and for your team will drive substantial benefits across your business in motivation, in productivity and ultimately business performance.